We're always told that debt is a trap, that it's this financial monster we should run from. But what if that's just wrong? What if I told you that for the wealthy, debt isn't something they avoid, it's something they master, and it's their single greatest tool for building incredible wealth?
Debt is a monster, right? We've all heard that. It's pretty much financial gospel. It's drilled into our heads from day one. Avoid it. Pay it down as fast as you can. It's the enemy of your savings, this heavy weight that just holds you back. That's the story we're all told.
But what if that story is actually a trap itself? What if that well-meaning advice is the very thing that keeps most people stuck on a financial treadmill, running and running but never really getting ahead? And what if the real secret to breaking free is to actually embrace the one thing you've been taught to fear your whole life?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And spoiler alert, it's not just that they have more money to start with. They think about money, and especially debt, in a completely different way. To really get it, we need a story.
So, let's meet Alex and Ben. They're two brothers, and they find themselves at the exact same starting line. But they're about to set off on two completely different financial journeys.
Here's the setup. A life-changing inheritance drops into each of their bank accounts. $500,000. Same amount, same opportunity. But what they choose to do next, well, that's going to change everything.
And this is where their paths totally split. Alex does exactly what you'd expect, right? He follows the traditional playbook. He invests his inheritance in a safe, diversified portfolio, hoping for steady growth. And crucially, he avoids all debt. Ben, on the other hand, Ben sees his $500,000 not as a nest egg, but as a seed. It's a down payment. He uses it to go out and acquire $2.5 million worth of property, willingly taking on $2 million in debt to do it. It sounds crazy, I know, but Ben's playing a totally different game.
So who made the right call? Well, let's hit the fast forward button and jump ahead 10 years. This is where we see the incredible power of these two different mindsets come to life.
All right. After 10 years of that steady 8% return, Alex's portfolio has more than doubled. He's now got about $1.08 million, and he has zero debt. By any normal measure, this is a massive success. He played it safe, and it absolutely paid off.
But then we look at Ben. After you account for all of his remaining debt, his net worth has skyrocketed to around $1.7 million. He's not just a millionaire, he's way, way wealthier than his brother. How is that even possible? They started with the exact same amount of money.
The huge difference you see right here, it all comes down to one powerful word: leverage. See, Alex's money grew. That's great. But Ben leveraged the bank's money to control a much, much larger pile of assets. So while his properties went up in value, he had tenants paying him rent, and that rent covered his mortgage and all his expenses. So in effect, his tenants were paying down his debt for him. He put other people's money to work, and the results, well, they speak for themselves.
Ben's story isn't just about getting lucky. It's a real strategy. It's a playbook that wealthy people have been using for generations. So let's break down exactly how this idea of good debt actually works.
This is the key. You have to understand that not all debt is created equal. Bad debt, that's when you use a credit card to buy a giant TV that's worth less the second you take it out of the box. But good debt is different. It's borrowing money to buy something that's going to grow in value, like Ben's real estate pours something that's going to produce an income for you. The asset literally pays for the debt and then some.
This whole strategy really rests on three main pillars. First, you're using debt to get your hands on assets that appreciate. Second, you amplify your returns. Remember, Ben was earning growth on the bank's $2 million, not just his own $500,000. And third, and this is a big one, it's about preserving your wealth. The wealthy can borrow against their assets to get cash, and because it's a loan, not income, it's often tax-free. This lets them fund their lifestyle without ever having to sell the very assets that are making them rich. It's a pretty brilliant game of financial chess.
Okay, now before you run off to the bank, it's absolutely critical that you understand this is not a risk-free plan. Not at all. Leverage is an amplifier, and that means it magnifies everything, the good and the bad.
If Ben's properties had dropped in value, that debt would have become a crushing weight. This is not about being reckless. The key is that the debt has to be tied to a solid asset with a predictable cash flow, one that can cover those loan payments no matter what. This is a highly calculated strategy, not just rolling the dice.
So ultimately, this all brings us back to the most important idea. The real difference between Alex and Ben, it wasn't the money they started with. It was their mindset. It was their whole philosophy about what debt is and what it can be.
And here it is, plain and simple. Most of us are taught to see debt as a liability. It's a cost, a burden, something that takes money out of our pocket every month. The wealthy? They've completely flipped the script. They see the right kind of debt as an asset. It's a tool, a lever, something that can be used to put more money into their pocket.
So as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this one question to think about. Look at your own financial life. Is your debt a shackle that's holding you back? Or could it, if you use it strategically, become the very lever that helps you build your own wealth? The answer just might change everything.